So you're earning £55,000 a year. That puts you in the top 10% of earners in the UK. And yet, at the end of most months, you're looking at your account wondering where it all went. That's the reality for a lot of people every single month. So let's break down why it happened and what you can do about it. Let's start with what you actually take home. Here's how £55,000 gross breaks down after you have all of your tax deductions taken from the gross sum. So the first 12,570 is your personal allowance. As you know, you pay nothing on that, it's completely tax free. Then the next £37,700 between 12,571 and 50,270 is taxed at 20%, which is your basic rate tax band. The remaining 4,730 from 50,271 to 55,000 is taxed at 40%. That's the higher rate tax band. Now, in this situation, we're going to assume that you're making the 5% contribution into your pension under auto enrollment. That means that your pension contribution is going to be £229 a month. That's going to come out of your take home pay after tax. In total, income tax takes £694 a month, national insurance takes £259 a month, meaning that your monthly take home pay after all the tax deductions is £3,401. Now, these numbers are based on the 26-27 tax year, and it's also based on a standard 1257L tax code. We are assuming that there are no student loans or other deductions or allowances to be used. Now, if your situation differs, obviously the numbers will differ as well, but the structural problem I'm about to go on to describe now still applies. Now, what we haven't done is we haven't accounted for the cost of rent or mortgage for an average family outside of London. We know that average rent prices across the country right now are about £1,300 a month. And if you're living in a different place, obviously it will be different for you specifically. But once you take that off, it means you're going to be left with about £2,100 a month. Now, that's got to cover food, transportation, kids if you have kids, utilities, everything else. And I can almost bet there will be some of you watching this right now thinking, £2,100 after I paid tax and paid my rent or my mortgage doesn't feel like I'm a top 10% earner. And I don't blame you, because it probably doesn't. But here's why. At 55,000, you are in the 40% band, which means that every extra pound you earn over the 50,270, well, 40p of that is going to go straight to HMRC before it even reaches you. But it goes a little bit further than that. If you cast your mind back to 2021, the government froze income tax thresholds, the personal allowance, the higher rate tax threshold as well. And these were there to protect you. They are supposed to rise with inflation every single year so that you could maintain at least your purchasing power. Instead, they've been locked in place. And the freeze has now been extended to 2030, 2031. And this means that whilst wages have gone up, the point at which you start paying 40% tax has stayed exactly where it was prior. So in income terms, in real terms, your money buys roughly the same as it did 4 years ago, only now you're taxed at a higher rate much sooner. Now, this is called fiscal drag. It's essentially a bit of a stealth tax. And the OBR estimates that that little mechanism right there will pull 3 million additional people into higher rate tax band by the time the freeze ends in 2030, 2031. And this is where some people start to question if a pay rise is actually worth it, because sometimes, just sometimes, the pay rise doesn't feel like a pay rise at all. And here's one of the main reasons why. Now, if you have kids, this next part is especially important, but stay with me if you don't, because the fix is the same for everyone, which we're going to get to shortly. At £55,000, you are £5,000 away from a trap that most people don't know exists until they've already walked into it. It's called the High Income Child Benefit Charge. Now, this works in a really bizarre way, and fair enough, the government is trying to make this a little bit more fair. But essentially, once the high earner in a household crosses £60,000, child benefit starts being clawed back. That's 1% of the total benefit for every £200 earned above that threshold. So for most households, by the time you get to £80,000 a year in income, your benefit is completely gone. And here's what that means in practice, okay? Just to drive this home. On any income between 55,000 and 60,000 pounds, you're already paying 40% income tax, 2% national insurance, right? That's 42p in every extra pound above the rates, that threshold, right? Before it even reaches you. The moment you cross 80,000, though, the child benefit clawback starts on top of that. So if you have two children, that clawback adds roughly another 12p in every pound you earn above 60,000 pounds. That will make your effective marginal rate of income close to 53%, meaning you're working harder, but the net result in cash terms can almost be nothing. And this is not a theoretical, by the way. This is the tax system as it currently works. And the fix for it, which we'll come to in a moment, is the same fix that addresses everything else that we're going to talk about in this video. Now, if you're listening to this and some of this is really hitting home with you, you're also probably in a situation right now where you might feel as though your money isn't going as far as it needs to, or at least you don't feel as though you're able to put your money to work adequately to help you build security beyond dealing with the day to day right here and right now. And if that is you, I'm launching a community at the end of April, which I would love for you to join the wait list to join and get information on what we're going to be offering. It's designed for people specifically at your income level, where we provide guidance, tools, guides, accountability, structured support over a 12-month period to help you achieve your goals. The invitation is open. I'd love to see you join the waitlist so you can at least get the information of what the community is going to offer. I will link that down below and put it in the description and pin it in the comments. But let's move on and have a look at some of the challenges that this situation presents. So here's one of the things that frustrates me most about conversations when it comes to tax and income. And it is this assumption that if you understand something, it's easy to take action, totally disregarding in the same breath that we have an extremely complex tax system in this country. And unfortunately, a lot of people need help with just structuring finance, and the understanding of it is just the beginning. But I think there is a much, much more pressing issue, concern to talk about, and that is the £2,100 we highlighted a little bit earlier on. The amount that's left over after housing and tax. The £2,100 that has to cover food, transport, childcare, energy bills, and anything else that comes along that might be unexpected. Now, for most households, they don't have any slack. There is no emergency buffer. So when things like the boiler goes, or the car needs some work, or the school trips start to stack up, most of that is funded from debt, credit cards, overdraft, God forbid, payday loans. And the truth is, the gap between income and breathing room is widening every year. The fraud that we spoke about earlier continues because the tax bill, your tax bill, is quietly growing while your purchasing power isn't. Now, that's the present problem. And yes, we need to talk about that even more. But sitting underneath that is an even bigger problem, which is quietly building, and that is the retirement problem. So, according to industry estimates, they suggest that the average pension pot in the UK that a person holds is somewhere between 80,000 and 120,000 pounds. That's the average pension pot. Now, if you look at data from the Pension and Lifetime Savings Association, they say for a moderate retirement, which for a single person is going to get you one holiday, one foreign holiday a year, a car, maybe you can eat out occasionally. They say for that you need to have between 330 and 490,000 pounds on top of your state pension to achieve that. Now, both of these problems, the one that you feel today and the one that's building later on, have three fixes, and none of them require a windfall whatsoever, and you can start to implement them today. But it's really important that you know about them, and that's what we're going to cover next. Salary sacrifice. And to explain why this matters, I need to quickly explain how most people's pension contributions currently work. For most people, pension contributions come out of your pay after tax has been taken. Your pension provider claims 20% basic tax rate relief back from HMRC and then adds it to your pot. That's done automatically. It's not something that you need to worry about. But if you're a higher rate taxpayer earning £55,000 a year, you still have that entitlement, but you have to claim the additional 20% yourself. Now, most people don't do this, and it's estimated between 2016 and 2021 that 1.3 billion pounds in higher rate pension tax relief just went unclaimed in the UK, was completely left on the table. Now, salary sacrifice fixes both problems at once. Instead of contributions coming out after tax, your employer takes them before your salary is calculated. So your taxable annual salary is lower. So the full income tax benefit is delivered automatically with nothing to claim. And crucially, you also save on national insurance, which you don't get any relief on under the standard arrangement. Now, here's what that means for the 5% pension contribution we were talking about a little bit earlier on. At £229 a month, that's 2,750 a year. The national insurance savings on the full 2,750 at 2% rate that applies at your income level is £55 a year. On top of that, any higher rate tax relief you were previously leaving unclaimed through the self assessment is now applied automatically through the reduced taxable salary. Now, it's worth remembering that last year, at the autumn statement in November, the government announced that from April 29, the national insurance relief on salary sacrifice will be capped at £2,000. So if you just take the instance where you're still paying in £2,750, that means that you're going to be over that £2,000 limit by £750. Now, the NI you lose on that 750,000 from 2029 is going to be about £15 a year. So it's £1.25 a month. That's the entire cost of this change at your income and contribution level. And this is where it connects directly to what we were talking about a little bit earlier on when it comes to the child benefit trap. So, salary sacrifice reduces your adjusted net income, which is the figure HMRC uses for the child benefit calculation. So, if a pay rise is pushing you towards £60,000, increasing your salary sacrifice can pull that number back below the threshold and restore the entitlement that you otherwise might have lost. Now, it's worthwhile noting that in order for you to do a salary sacrifice, it is required that your employer actually offers it. The good news is most larger employers do, but you can confirm that with one call to your payroll or your HR team. And I think it will be a 10-minute conversation that could be very worthwhile having. Use your ISAs as a parallel track, not just as a backup plan to your pensions. Now, we know that from 2028, your pensions are going to be locked away, so you can't touch it until you hit the age of 57. We also know that your ISAs are always going to be accessible throughout your lifespan. Now, remember, when you set up a salary sacrifice, your £229 pension contribution, which we've been talking about, that drops in real costs from £229 to £134 a month. So that gives you a £95 difference in real money that was going to HMRC that now doesn't have to go to HMRC. So technically speaking, that £95 could be your ISA starting point. Now, if you put that money straight into a stocks and shares ISA, you invest it in something like a low cost index fund or ETF, and you just leave it alone at, say, a 7% average return, £95 a month over a 10-year period will build to approximately £16,400. Now, in isolation, that's not life changing money, but combined with the next tip, which we're going to cover in move three, it does. It becomes the foundation to something very, very different. It's £20,000 a year ISA allowance with no capital gains tax, no dividends tax, no income tax on the way out. And this is financial breathing room. This is the pot that makes when the boiler actually goes, you don't have to reach out to use the credit card or a payday loan or overdraft. This is what stops you from being 55 years old with no options whatsoever. Most people treat ISAs as though they're kind of like something they'll get to eventually. What I want you to start thinking about ISAs in this regard as is a non negotiable, a part that you budget for on a monthly basis. Last and not least, and this doesn't have a product attached to it, but it's an idea to increase your savings rate by 1% every 6 months. It might not sound like a lot, but when you go back to your take home pay, which would be £3,401, That's £34 a month that could be working a little bit harder for you. And if you do this over a 3-year period, you'll find yourself at 11%. And I can almost promise you that you wouldn't have noticed the step ups that you've made by contributing more over that period of time. The most important thing to note, though, is that you would have cultivated and embedded a positive habit which will compound for you in benefits for years to come. Now, it's very, very easy to set up. Open your banking app tonight, set up a standing order, £34. It gets you started. There shouldn't be too much friction. But if I'm going to summarize a lot of what we've spoken about in terms of the actions that you can take, I want you to remember a few things, okay? If you were to salary sacrifice in this situation, we've already established that your £229 pension contribution in real terms will actually cost you £134. It will free up 95 quid. Now, you can choose to put that into an ISA to start building, have that invested over a period of time to start to build some additional money for you. If you didn't choose to do that, you can add that to your bottom line, which is the amount we got to £2,100 after your tax deductions and your rent or your mortgage. That will bring you up to £2,195. But look, these are all things that are relatively easy for you to do. And as you'll probably notice, they're not big changes. They are small interventions, small things that will make a really big difference over the course of time. You just need direction and patience. And again, if you've watched this video and a lot of this has kind of resonated with you, the direction, the guidance, the support, the accountability is what you're going to get in the community. So again, I'd love to invite you to join the wait list so you can at least be on the communication for what we're going to be offering in the community, and hopefully it will be the right fit for you. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did get value, don't forget to smash the like button before you leave. Please don't forget. And if you're finding me for the first time, please consider subscribing because it will be great to have you here. Until the next one, catch you soon. Cheers.